#1 rule in my family, honor your parents. Honoring your parents sounds great, but if you take it too far, you might forget to honor yourself.
That, in a nutshell, encapsulates everything about this movie. When everything that you do is about honoring your family, sometimes that can become overwhelming and you lose who you are as a person, or you don't get to develop who you want to be and who you should be. Now, there's certain personality types that are more apt to fall into this. Those that are more type A, that are achievement oriented, that like pleasing others, and disappointing people causes them immense pain. So those caretakers out of all of us can easily fall into this trap of living for someone else.
Luckily, I don't have that problem. I wear what I want, say what I want, and I will not hesitate to do a spontaneous cartwheel if I feel so moved. Oh, crap!
I love who Mei Mei is. I love that she is unapologetic of who she is as a person to everyone else, but for her parents. But besides that, I love the thought of if you want to just jump and splash in a puddle, go jump and splash in a puddle. You feel like doing a cartwheel? Well, as long as everyone's going to be okay and you're capable of doing a cartwheel, be careful. I love that feeling of being free. I think that we're often way too constrained by society's demand or society's judgment. And because of that, we're always worried that someone's gonna say something like, it's silly for you to be wearing ears while you're on a video. Aren't you supposed to be a psychotherapist?
Besties, assemble! Rurium! Priya! Abby! What's up, May? Ready to change the world?
So ready.
I was born to do this.
Let's burn this place to the ground!
Abby's my spirit animal. So wouldn't we all love, and those of us that had besties that could like kind of come together and they were there no matter what, like those partners in crime, the people that would have your back no matter what. I love that. And at this age, that's what becomes more important. It's really interesting because this story takes place at the age of 13, where we're changing our main peer group, which used to be our parents, because this was the age that we would be leaving the home and creating our own tribe. And it's a huge shift in dynamic for parents and for young adults.
Y equals -4. Je moved from Blanc, Manitoba, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. I know, it's a lot.
I love that Mei Mei embraces her intelligence as a trait that she's really proud of. I think that social media has done a huge injustice, that being smart is dorky and geeky and nerdy, and that's bad. I love that we're starting to re-embrace that being geeky and nerdy and you don't have to act cool and things you can be excited about are good traits, because of the way that we see the world is often reflected among media, and that bathes us and changes us. A lot of people, especially young women, are often made to feel like if they're intelligent, that's a bad thing.
Mildly annoying.
Major weirdo.
Dork narc.
I accept and embrace all labels.
Even labels that are negative, she's so easygoing about, they don't even bother her. I love that. I accept and embrace all labels, which probably isn't true, but I love how easygoing. That shows a really strong amount of ego strength, and especially at her young age, to have such ego strength that she's not bothered when people are trying to tease and bully and get under her skin. She's really sure about who she is as a person, and that's really neat that it's developed at such a young age. Often at this age, we're really struggling with who we are. She's comfortable with who she is, but she might not be as comfortable with how is she going to express that.
We're going karaokeing today.
Can't. It's cleaning day. Plus, I got this new feather duster, and oh my gosh, you guys, it picks up so much.
She's still that shadow, that mirror of her mom. Her enjoying a feather duster is not something that is really age appropriate for a 13-year-old. She's doing this because she's mirroring what her mom likes. And I think that that shows that Mei Mei is enmeshed with her mom. So she's kind of taken on certain of her characteristics that are not hers to carry.
Are you hungry? How was school today?
Killed it per usual.
Today, honor student. Tomorrow, UN Secretary General.
So you see how much she lights up when her mom is proud of her? She puts all this pressure of what I want you to become, UN secretary. So anything less than that might be disappointing her mother's ideals, which hurts her. We end up with the situation where Mei Mei is quite enmeshed with her mom. And enmeshment means that it's almost like you're in a symbiotic relationship. It's unhealthy for the child in this situation because they don't develop all of the different pieces of who they want to be because they're imparting things that their mother or father or parental figure really likes. Perhaps so much so that they want to cut their hair the same way, or they can't even choose their own clothing or nail polish or what shoes they'll wear without asking for another person's approval, because everything that they do is kind of moving at the same pace as what that parental figure is doing. You can be enmeshed with someone that's not your parental figure. It could also be a friend, or it could be your boyfriend and girlfriend. These are different situations that you can end up being kind of glued to the other person and you don't feel whole without them. Sometimes you're lacking your identity because of them and you're relying on them for who you are. And sometimes it's more of I want to please them so much that I'm just not going to exhibit who I want to be for them. But everything is dependent on their moves and you end up becoming a little mini them, like a little mini me. And Mei Mei is very responsible, which is a good thing, and taking care of her family is a wonderful thing. But you can see that she's almost parentified. She's a little mom. She's really hyper responsible. And that creates a few red flags for me right at the beginning of this movie. Because when you see someone that's mirroring everything that they do, or they like the same drinks that their parents like, or they're going to cut their hair the way that their parents like, you want slowly someone to develop their own identity, because if they don't, they might lose who they are, not even know how they feel, what they enjoy, what they don't like, because without that other person's reflection, they don't know how to form their own ideas. And that can be really dangerous because it can cause a lot of anxiety and even depression because they lose sense of themselves.
Do you want a snack?
Cool, great, thanks. Don't look at the notebook. No!
Is this your homework?
At this age, our mind and our fantasies kind of are awash with people and puberty and hormones and the people that we're attracted to, and it takes up a lot of mind space. All of us would be traumatized if someone else saw and read through those personal pages. As a parent, no, you should not read through your child's diary or book or journal without their permission. These should be their private thoughts and they feel comfortable. Now, I think that a lot of parents are saying, yeah, but I just want to read through it to make sure that everything's okay and they don't tell me everything and I just want to make sure that I keep them safe. I understand that, but the feeling of betrayal and embarrassment can actually be really harming to your relationship. So much so that if something bad is happening, they may not say anything. And so, except for in extreme cases, you should never be sifting through your child's diary or their journal book without their permission.
Who is he? Clerk from the Daisy Mart? Mom!
When your parent confronts someone without your permission, and now the whole school's gonna know, and she brought the pictures. And I understand that Ming Lee just wants to protect her daughter, and she's worried that someone else has been a horrible influence on her, and it's so much easier to think that someone else is the bad influence than your child is. And a lot of parents, they protect their child even when it's their child the one that were doing this all on their own accord. But I think that she's forgetting of the secondary embarrassment that Mei Mei is gonna have to go through because of this, and what she felt when she was a teenager. And sometimes we just go into that, I'm going to protect someone no matter what. This is not a life and death threat, even though she may feel it is.
What's going on, honey? Are you sick? Did the red peony bloom?
No, maybe?
But it's too soon.
I love that the movie talks about girls and having their period in a way that I would have rather that she said period instead of peony blooming, because I think that we need to talk about this. For 13-year-old girls or even younger, actually a lot of girls get their period much earlier than that. We don't often talk about periods because it makes people uncomfortable, but it shouldn't be. It's part of biology. And for young preteen girls, it's a huge deal. Everyone's asking other people if they got their period yet or didn't.
We are going to get through this together. I have ibuprofen, vitamin D, a hot water bottle.
You don't want to be the first one and you don't want to be the last one in your peer group to get it, and if it takes a really long time, it's a huge stress, and for the first person, it's a huge annoyance.
Pads. Regular, overnight, scented, unscented, thin, ultra thin with wings.
I think that it's a really important milestone that is often pushed away in regular media, where that's not the real reflection. This is the real reflection.
Don't worry, Mei Mei. I'll get everything you need. Mommy's here. Jin, it's happening!
I think that the way that her mom deals with it is a little bit overly excited.
Just leave them by the sink.
Mei Mei, perhaps we should talk about why this is happening.
You have to have that talk with your child about, puberty, and no child really wants their parent to talk about puberty and ask those questions unless they want to. But I think that it's really important for having your period and for turning red, becoming a panda. She probably should have had this conversation beforehand. You want to make sure that you impart, especially these huge life changes. Turning into a panda is a huge life change that if you think could happen to your child, probably should let them know beforehand, because how scary that is. But the same thing with getting your period. You want to have this talk so that everyone feels comfortable and understands that it happens before it actually happens, not after the fact. And that can save a lot of distress. And then your child can come to you with any questions that they have and understand that when it does happen, this is going to be the procedure. This is what I can do.
Yes!
Oh, I'm calm.
I love that Mei Mei has learned that it is anxiety, that excitement, that unleashes her inner panda, because that's the truth. When we're overly excited, we can get anxious. Anxiety is caused by all of those main emotions. Could be anger, could be overly excited, and happiness could even cause a panic attack. And that's what her inner panda is. I love that she does breathing techniques and that soothing of brushing herself, which I think a lot of us find that really calming. Just doing a deep breath in, holding it, and then breathing and relaxing out, it actually changes our brain's chemistry. It says, well, if I'm having a slow heartbeat and a slow set of breathing, I mustn't be running from a tiger, so I guess I must be okay. And saying that at the same time in your head, I'm okay, everything's good, or thinking about going to a happy, peaceful place, lets our body say, you know what? I guess there isn't a danger, so I don't need to send adrenaline, epinephrine, into your system. And I think that that's what the red panda symbolizes. When you get really anxious because you kind of go limbic and you say things that you shouldn't say and you act out things that you shouldn't act out. The red panda is a cute and perfect symbolism of our anxiety systems and our hormones and what happens when we all go through puberty. And I think that some people didn't relate to this movie because of the emphasis on puberty and getting your period and the interrelated causes between those. But I think that we all go through puberty, and puberty can make us all feel like we're kind of gangly and we don't fit into our own body and we can't control ourselves and we become our own inner monster. I think that the emphasis on the female aspects of going through puberty versus male, they might be different, but we can all relate to that. And I think that the main problem is that we haven't discussed this enough in media yet because it hasn't become normalized. And so I really commend this movie in starting to normalize a very common aspect of what girls go through. And if you ever even date someone that's a girl, have a friend that's a girl, raise a girl, this is really important for you to understand also.
Tell him you forgot your
Oh my God. For any of us that have had overly intrusive, this is more than helicopter. This is overly intrusive parents. I am going through secondary trauma for you, for all of us that have been through experiences like this. This is not okay. So one, just having your parent show up to your school can be really traumatizing because this is the age where we're separating for parents. We're trying to say that, you know what, we're independent, we're adults, we don't need anyone. So to have your parents show up is pretty much undermining all of the things that you're trying to build with your peer group. For many of us, that's the ultimate of uncoolness. But it's not just that. Her mom's making a scene. And then the last thing when you've gotten your period that you want is your mom to say you forgot things that you're on your period, because that signals to everyone that not only have you had your period, but you're on your period. And no one wants to talk about that except for with their peer group. Most of us in this situation would just hope and pray that we kind of get swallowed up by the world in these kind of moments. And I think many of us really did go through trauma for Mei Mei experiencing her mom doing this. It's normal to have your period and to be able to talk about it, but it's your choice. It shouldn't be someone else that is outing you and saying that you have it. It's not just anyone, it's her mom. And her mom didn't ask for her permission. She didn't say what happens if you forget your pads, or she didn't discreetly go into the school properly and let the secretary know and have her called down to the office in a way that no one would know what happened. It then makes a scandal for the whole class and everyone's going to be talking about this.
Mei, it's gonna be okay.
No, it's not. I'm a freak.
I love her friend group. They're just so tight and they're really there for her. They see how much pain Mei Mei's going through, and right away their first thought is, how do we make her feel better? You can see the empathy that they feel for her. It's not sympathy. They don't feel bad for her. They feel what she's feeling.
I've never met nobody like you.
On my mind.
Oh my, oh my.
When you have people that know you so well, they know how to pull you out from those dark places, and just the fact that they care enough to try makes you feel better because they haven't abandoned you and they haven't rejected you, even though she is a giant red panda.
Oh my gosh! I stayed calm. Something about you guys, like, neutralizes the panda. I can have my life back.
What Mei Mei's learned is that her friends are her safe place. They're the ones that make her feel calm and relaxed, even in the face of things that might make her feel anxious or upset. And a lot of times that's what happens when you have someone that's safe and secure, that you know has your back no matter what. Even if you're at your worst, you feel so much safer. And that's those people that give you that feeling of a safe attachment.
What happened to your panda?
All I do is imagine the people I love most in the whole world, which is you guys.
And that's a hard thing. It's a hard thing for parents and it's a hard thing for young adults when their most important person changes from becoming your parents to your peers. It's really painful, especially for the adults, because for them, nothing has changed. You're still the most important person, hopefully, in their life. But for you, in the span of 2 years, it went from being your parental figures to the people that are your age, because that was the people that we were going to be going off to be with. And that transition is really important. Even all of those hormones that we end up feeling, and that rage and that anger, it actually helps us separate so that we can become independent, which is what we need to be. I can understand Mei Mei not wanting to tell her mom because her fear of disappointing people is too great and she'd feel really guilty to hurt her.
Mei, stop! What is going on here?
And for all of us, especially during puberty, it's so hard to control your feelings because your body is changing. You have hormones raging through you, and that fast amount of change really does bring out, for a lot of us, a huge amount of anxiety and anger. And for some of us, it's like rage, like fury, especially when we feel like our ego is being damaged or someone kind of hits us right on a wound.
Get out of here! Go back to your psycho mom and your creepy temple, you freak!
And for Mei Mei, she was already really upset, and that was that last drop in the bucket that just made everything overflow. All of us can understand and have been through a situation, especially during our puberty years, where, you know what, we did stuff and we acted in ways that, looking back, we really wish that we had not.
She is a good girl. and you've taken advantage of her.
Mei, tell her.
I think that all of us felt really bad that Mei Mei kind of threw her friends underneath the bus, but when you have such an imposing parental figure that's larger than life, you could feel the pressure when Mei Mei was first standing there and she's waiting for her mom to unleash hell upon her, her relief when her mom walked by her. And it's sometimes just easier to let someone else take the blame because it hurts so much to have that parent's wrath. Though she made the wrong decision, it's such a hard thing to stand up. It takes so much inner strength to stand up to someone that's larger than life, the person that you have most wanted to please, that you never feel like you're really living up to. I love that. I think that it's so beautiful. I think that when Mei Mei really noticed how she's trying to separate, eradicate her anger, her anxiety, her monster from her, she remembered all of these beautiful moments, the times where it protected her, kept her safe, brought her joy. And instead of abandoning and throwing it out, when it made that noise of, I don't want to be abandoned by you, I don't want to be left alone, she remembered how this is also part of her and rejoined herself with it. And I think that that's what we all need to do. Our anxiety, our anger, yes, sometimes it can be too much, but we need to come to terms with it, not get rid of it. Whenever I see people and they tell me, I don't feel anxious or I never feel angry, I've never cried, that's a problem. That's a huge red flag for me because all of our emotions are important to us. And what damage happened so that we actually eradicated, deleted it from who we are as a person. We really need to learn to coexist and understand that these mechanisms, even anger and rage, it's there to keep us safe and it's enacted for a reason and we need to understand it, not try to delete it. I love that tail hug that she does when she's back to having her inner panda with her. I think that that's really beautiful because she's come to terms with who she is, even the parts of her that other people may not accept or like or want. And I wish that we could all do that, even with our dark sides. We're both things. We're all of the things that are good and wonderful, and we're all of our flaws and mistakes and anger and fury. I don't want them to control us, but I also don't want us to just eradicate them either. We need to have a balance.
No! I'm going to the concert!
Get back here!
How many of us have felt that pressure of not living up to our family's ideals and having to come out to be able to say that I want to be something that no one else wants me to be? I think that at 13, very few of us would have that strength to be able to really stand up for our convictions, because one is that a lot of our life is still so dependent on our parents' support. So to be able to do that, I think is probably more strength and sometimes might not be the best of strategies at that age. But I love that Mei Mei was able to, even though she probably shouldn't have done it in such an aggressive way, that she kind of throws her entire family off and kind of gets them hurt.
You threw us under the bus.
I've been like obsessed with my mom's approval my whole life. Ugh. Robert Jr.?
She's been taking care of him 24/7.
No, found him at Tyler's.
And that showed that even though her friends were really angry at her for throwing them under the bus, they still took care of the thing that's most precious to her, Robert Jr. Well, really, it's her friendship with her friends, but also Robert Jr. And that showed Mei Mei how much her friends really love her, that even when they are hurt, they still put her first.
Town forever.
Town forever!
And that they were able to forgive her for hurting them so much, so easily, because they had built this groundwork. They'd had all of these wonderful, safe, secure memories. And because of that, even though she's flawed and she made a mistake, they were able to understand it and move past it. And that's the wonderful thing about deep friendships, is that we understand everyone's flawed, but we love them in spite of it.
I lied, Mom! I like boys! I like loud music! I like gyrating! I'm 13! Deal with it!
I love that that she was able to stand up for her truth and to defend her friends, that it was actually her, that she's changing as a person. Now, for parents, it's so hard because in 2 years, this person that depended everything on you is suddenly now becoming independent. It doesn't need you that much. And it's a really painful rift for the parents. For the child, it's like, why are you still so attached to me? It can be this really large kind of divergence in a relationship. Mei Mei had a lot of strength through her anger to be able to say the things that she wished she had said a lot sooner, and to let her parent know that, yes, I have changed.
What happened?
I hurt her, my mom, and I lost control. I'm never gonna be good enough for her.
And now we see that damage of that generational trauma. That for her mom, she went through the same things with her own mother. And you can tell that the scar on her mom's face was probably caused by her. And she can feel the pain that her mom feels about having to be perfect. And that pressure she then has imposed upon Mei Mei also. As parents, we're just trying to do the best we can with the tools that we have. But when you try so hard to live up to someone else's expectations, sometimes even though we say we're not going to do it to our own children, unconsciously we do anyways. And I love that Mei Mei really feels that empathy for her mom in this situation.
I know it feels that way all the time, but it isn't true.
I love that Mei Mei is really able to empathize with what her mom went through because she's feeling it herself. And though her mom feels like she's never going to live up to people's expectations, she's never going to be good enough for anyone, Mei Mei understands that, you know what, you have to also be true to who you are as a person, and that is good enough. And that grab of her hand and her leading her through the forest as she goes through all of the stages of her life, I think that that's really beautiful symbolism of what we all do, and if we're lucky enough to be able to have someone else be able to lead us there. In this way, she's moved emotionally, become more emotionally intelligent and resilient than her mom's been able to, because her mom was stunted by a very overbearing parent herself.
It's okay.
And you see her confirming to her mom that it's okay if she makes this choice, even though it's not the choice that Mei Mei would make. She's accepting of her mom making a different choice, which is kind of interesting because it's still hard for her mom to do the same thing for her.
I see you, Mei Mei. I'm sorry. So don't hold back. The farther you go, the prouder I'll be.
It's such a hard thing when we become someone else, when we're trying to explore who we want to be. And I love that her mom was able to say to her that I see you. And that means that she sees her as her being different and accepts her for being different. And that's so hard for us as parents, because I think that as parents, we really do worry that we're going to lose our child.
I'm finally figuring out who I am. I'm scared it'll take me away from you.
Mei Mei also, it's scary because then who am I going to be independent? Because at this age, you're still part child and yet you have part adult, and that transition, it's just so fast and so scary. And her mom's words of, the further that you go, the more proud I'll be of who you are as a person. Its significance, it's just so heavy. And I think that it would be really hard for many parents to say that because we're so scared of losing our children and they won't come back, that maybe they'll be happier or more successful without us. And a lot of who we are as a person has been predicated on the shoulders of our children, even though it shouldn't be. Her giving her child permission to go out and explore is really powerful, because that allows Mei Mei, who's this strong caretaker that doesn't want to disappoint her parents, the permission to be able to really learn who she is, separate from her mom.
We've all got a messy, loud, weird part of ourselves hidden away, and a lot of us never let it out. But I did. How about you?
I love it. I think that's the perfect ending to the movie because I don't know, it's so salient to me. I think that we all have these weird, quirky, strange places, things inside of ourselves, and that's the parts of us that are fun and wonderful and magical. All of the things that we try to hide because we're worried that other people saw who we really were, how messy and wrong and worried and silly that we can be, that we would be judged and excluded and rejected. And it's so wrong. That's the part that people will really love about you. That's what makes us unique. So hopefully you will also work on releasing your own inner panda. And while watching my videos is a great way to get familiar with the basics of psychology, therapy, pandaing, if you want to gain an understanding of the basics of computer science, physics, quantum mechanics, game theory, and our own inner monsters, check out today's sponsor, Brilliant. Brilliant is the online interactive STEM learning platform with a growing catalog of courses specifically crafted to help you learn concepts by working through them yourself in visual, hands-on ways. And all the lessons are presented in these bite-sized pieces so you can learn at your own pace. No pressure. And if you ever feel stuck, Brilliant has in-depth explanations and breakdowns of the material, and it makes it even easier to learn. Like their algorithm, neural network, and machine learning courses, they let you shift blocks of pseudocode around so you receive immediate feedback and get results. You're solving puzzles and games, and the whole time you're learning how artificial intelligences really work. So to get started for free, visit brilliant.org/Georgia Dow or click on the link in the description. The first 200 people get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. So just click on the button on the screen or go to brilliant.org/Georgia Dow. Clicking on that button really does help this channel, so thank you. And hopefully you liked this video. Tell me what were your favorite scenes, the scenes that I might have missed, and your interpretations. And if you want to share all of the quirky, fun things that you do, I would love to hear it. And if you like this video, please hit subscribe.